I'm going to use every tool and every avenue possible to try to get this implemented, and I'm going to be a bulldog. I'm not going to let it go until we get the full funding. When 70% of Californians in all 58 counties vote in the affirmative, they want to make crime illegal again, and give law enforcement the tools they need to keep us safe. This should be the first thing that gets funded, and it's a slap in the face for all the people who voted for it. What happened and transpired in last year's budget, when they only put $100 million in over 3 years, when it's a $400 million a year program, zero money for probation, which is the cornerstone of the whole initiative. It's the accountability piece of the whole initiative. So what it really comes down to is the governor wants this to fail. He campaigned against it, and he definitely wants to fail because he's not willing to put the money in to make sure it's successful and make sure that our law enforcement has the tools they need to keep us safe. And with the mental health issues that we have in California, I believe $400 million is just the tip of the iceberg. I think it's going to cost more because I think our mental health issues are a little bit more severe than most people think here in the state. $400 million. In fact, I think $400 million is probably not enough because our mental health issues are worse than anybody anticipates. And let's just go, when the governor says we don't have money to fund this, I think that's laughable. When you spend $500 million on a 911 system and it gets scrapped, and you just wasted $500 million and we're starting over, when you spend billions of dollars on the high-speed rail every year, there's so many other things that he is funding or is wasteful spending that $400 million is the first thing that should get funded, because again, it's about keeping us safe. I think the most essential role of government is public safety. And quite frankly, it's not just what I think, it's what 70% of Californians think. That's why they voted in the affirmative, Democrats, Independents, and Republicans. So I'm gonna use every avenue I have. So we're introducing a bill to fully fund Prop 36, but I also sent a letter into the budget lead to say that we need to fully fund it. I know 3 of my Democratic colleagues also signed that same letter. Not my letter, but they signed one on their own. Umberg, Richardson, and Blakespeare all signed saying that we should fully fund. This is not a Republican issue. This is a bipartisan issue. Otherwise, it wouldn't have passed all 58 counties with 70% of the vote. The general fund is the budget that's our priorities. And again, if we can't save public safety and keeping us safe and giving law enforcement the tools they need to keep us safe is a priority, when we're funding so many, like an example, we just spent over, I believe, $500 million to bail out the Bay Area Transit, because we spent $500 million to bail out BART up in San Francisco because they're mismanaging their system over there. They can find the money to do that, but they can't find the money to keep us safe across the state of California. That doesn't make sense. I think public safety is the first thing that should be funded. Transportation, for example, instead of spending billions of dollars on the high-speed rail that we know will never get built as proposed to people of California, there's shovel-ready projects throughout the state of California, particularly in Southern California. We're preparing for the Olympics as well as the World Cup. There's shovel-ready projects that are better for the people of California and for our economy in California than this one project that is actually more expensive than the entire state budget was 10 years ago. That's how big $128 billion is. Our whole state budget a little over 10 years ago was $98 billion. And so we're throwing billions of dollars on a program that's a train that goes from Merced to Bakersfield. That does not make sense. And the people of California would never have voted for that if that was the cost and the route. And remember, they said it was going to be $33 billion done in 2020, going from San Francisco to LA. They've already thrown out the San Francisco to LA. Now it's $128 billion and climbing, going, and they don't have the revenue. They don't have the money to get there. And I don't know where the money is going to come from, but they don't have the money to get there. So we're wasting billions of dollars doing that instead of shovel-ready projects across the state of California. Instead of lowering, for example, the gas tax. Right now we're talking about almost $10 a gallon gas. It was $9 a gallon this morning in the San Fernando Valley. Instead of giving relief to hardworking families living paycheck to paycheck, those seniors on fixed income, both Democrats and Republicans say we have an affordability crisis, but it's almost like this legislature is the Marie Antoinette of the modern day. Let them eat cake. I think that we should do whatever we can to lower those gas prices immediately to give relief, because people can't afford these high gas costs. And I'll remind everybody, high gas costs increase the cost of everything. For example, those trucks that are driving produce to those grocery stores, now all of a sudden your milk is more expensive, your eggs and your vegetables are more expensive because of these high gas prices. And the only tool that we have right now to drop gas prices immediately is my bill to drop the gas prices by over $1.08 a gallon, which equates to $1,100 per family. California does not have a revenue problem. It has a wasteful spending problem. Even Governor Newsom in his State of the State address said the revenues are way up in California because we get a lot of money from capital gains and the boom of the AI market. We're actually doing really well in terms of the revenue coming in the state. The problem is you can't keep spending more than you can take in over a long period of time, and our priorities are out of whack. We have to make tough decisions in all the family budgets across the state of California. Small businesses have to make those tough decisions, but the legislature keeps wasting dollars. And again, when you're wasting a dollar, it's a dollar that's not being used for something worthy like Prop 36.